Welcome, Flip Clock fans. We've got a General Electric C4335A inside of Flip Clock Fan Studios. Someone sent this in to me, and we've got a problem with the alarm. We're going to go through and see if we can fix it. So the unit says it's high voltage and it doesn't have any tubes, and we're not qualified, so we're going to dig right in. If you do anything like this, be very careful because you can get killed with this. So first thing I like to do is to show people how to get into these clocks. And every clock's a little different. This clock, you're going to start by pulling the knob straight off. And this is the time and alarm set. And this happens to be really tightly stuck. So I pulled the bigger ring out first. It helps me get the time set knob off. You can see that's got a band on there, a metal band. And this is just the regular plastic to plastic. These bands, they'll sometimes rust and they are almost impossible to get off, but they do pull straight up. The rest of the buttons pull off too, but we don't need the snooze button off. To get the clock apart, you've got to take this screw out. It's deep down in there, and it's kind of a silver colored screw there. When you put that back in, please do not over torque it because you will mess up your cabinet. There's 5 other screws here and here, and then you'll have 3 on the back. You really don't want to mess with taking the other screws out. You will end up with a serious problem. You'll have trouble getting it back together. So these 2 buttons control the alarm and the radio. They're not very intuitive. This says manual and auto. That's on and off. That's pretty intuitive. But when you're pushing down for auto, that means you want your alarm set. And later in years, they just basically said alarm set. But the manual and auto thing really screws up us modern day people. Snooze button, again, you can leave that on. Once your screws are out, we'll lift up from the side here on the right as we're facing the clock. And then you kind of tilt up because you've got to miss that post right there. Comes right off. That'd be easy to clean up. No speakers attached there. Speakers attached on the bottom here. We're going to look here, kind of orient ourselves, and see what the problem might be. So if you're at 8:30-ish, we should see this be going off about 8:30 a.m. when I turn the alarm selector. And it's not functioning. We're going to see what happens when you turn the alarm selector. So what happens is you'll see a mechanical arm there which releases this button. So normally it has it pressed down so throughout the day, but when it hits around that 8:30 mark or wherever you have your clock set, it's gonna release that. So the snooze button has one of these switches. They're called Omron switches. We're going to have to understand a little bit about how they work to see if we can figure out or troubleshoot. You need a multi-tester. This is a basic one. We want to put it on a setting for continuity testing or resistance, and it'll have a little speaker sound there because you're going to make a sound whenever you get connection. So that's how you know there's continuity. In other words, the 2 have connection and they're connected. So that's how we can look at this switch and figure it out. Now on these Omron switches, you've got a COM. That's a common pole. Then you've got over here NC, which stands for normally closed, and NO, which stands for normally open. Now, the normal condition is the button's not pressed. So when it say normally open, that means when the button's not pressed, normally closed when the button's not pressed. It gets a little confusing, but we're going to talk about it. Open switches like that. That's a closed switch. Open, closed. So when it's closed, they're connected. You have to keep that in mind. So that's how we're going to know how to test. So if we connect, so normally we're going to have these 2 will actually be connected inside the box there. So we're going to make sure this switch is actually working. This is a switch I've pulled off another one, another clock, and we're going to use this to repair the clock. So you see it's normally closed, and that's what we get. And when I push this button, it is not closed anymore. So now it's open. And then when you release it, it's back to the normal condition. So again, normal condition is it's closed. Now it's open. In other words, it's not touching inside there. So it's not connecting those wires. Now the other side is normally open. So when the button's not pressed, which is the normal condition, it should not make a noise. But as soon as you press it, it acts like a normal switch we're used to, and it closes. So you have to kind of keep that in mind if you're going to test these switches to see if they're working. So again, we'll look here. We've got our switch in place. We see that they've connected all these wires together on that one pole. Basically just causes it to be connected together. All those wires are connected together. I'm not an electrical engineer, but it's probably not a good idea. But when this is in the normal condition, you would have the common and this one here connected. Now normally the clock, this gets confusing, normally the clock's got it pressed, so it's not in the normal condition. In other words, that would be open, except when it hits the time you want it to alarm. Then it will be in the normal condition, which means they should be touching. So that will set the alarm off. So with that button not pressed, we should be getting a signal here when I touch those two. And there is no signal, so we've got a faulty switch. Now you got to be careful because sometimes you can't get a good connection because the solder might have some oxidation on it. You have to scratch a little bit or go right down to the post there themselves if you can see it, and there is no connection. So I've repaired it and we're going to test it. So that's set for radio to go off. If we want our radio to go off, we have to set our alarm, push it down to auto, which is basically alarm set. We should have our radio go off here. Boom, it works. And if we set it over here to buzzer, now this buzzer is kind of horrible. You see, the buzzer is kind of mixed with radio, and that's just the way some of these old ones are. I don't know if you can fix that or if that's just the normal condition. Good Lord. Get up. Get up. Okay, so that'll wake you up for sure. And everything's functional. That's how you turn the radio on, just to listen to some Tom Petty. All right. So we've fixed up the clock. We've got the alarm working great. I actually replaced the neon glow bulb to give it a brighter orange glow. And if you noticed, I fixed the dial light. It had a dial light that was out. So we've got a nicely restored General Electric C4335A. Thanks for watching.
When you get the time, come visit us at flipclockfans.com.